Good afternoon.
Kristin's mother, Denise Smart, DENISE SMART. I feel like there's very little I can add from having the family speak, and I apologize in advance, it's a little long.
No need for an apology.
Dear Judge O'Keefe, Your Honor, from the first breath our children take to the last we take, we watch, we worry, we pray for their well-being, happiness, and safety. These tenets become the guiding force in your life. As Eric mentioned, Kristin was born on February 20th, 1977 in Augsburg, Germany. Her interest in Germany and travel began as soon as she could find Germany on a map. I believe that was certainly the trigger for her adventurous spirit. She always approached life through the lens of what was possible. To her, every dream was within reach. We learned early to never discount her perseverance, her zest for life, and her inner mantra to never give up. When our loving, tenacious, and beautiful daughter's life was stolen by a cowardly rapist, the life as we knew it was gone forever. May 24th, 1996. It was a typical busy Friday evening at the pool, helping visiting families, helping set up for the annual Memorial Day swim meet. It was actually the first which Kristin would not be competing in. The normalcy of chaos and preparation kept us all busy. It was a rare treat when we got home that night to find a very excited and very happy voicemail from Kristin. She had good news, good news. She usually called on Sunday, sometimes midweek just to chat. I tried calling her back that evening, but there was no answer. I wonder why. I know every nuance of her voice. I went to bed happy that night, having heard the levity and optimism in her voice. What I did not know then was that the next 2 nights would be the last peaceful nights of sleep in my life. Monday evening came the call no parent can ever prepare for. Mrs. Smart, we were just checking in to see if Kristin came home this weekend. A Cal Poly officer said into the phone. It was a simple sentence, one that will continue to haunt me for the rest of my life. As a mother, I knew right then. The fear was palpable, the panic immediate. No words or reassurance could have assuaged the dark and deep feeling in my gut. We were one. She was missing. I knew it. He cavalierly mentioned, we heard she may have gone camping. That, of course, I knew was not Kristin. My husband was in his truck the next morning, headed straight to San Luis Obispo for help, answers, and that the prayer that he could undo this nightmare. The next days are a mind-numbing, messy blur. I remember calling the Cal Poly president's office after days of radio silence from the college. The president's secretary answered and advised us 5 days after Kristin's death from Paul Flores. If you are concerned about your student, you need to contact the resident dorm advisor. How could this be? How could the president's secretary not know that a young woman was missing from her campus? It was unbelievable. The complete and utter absence of urgency or communication was totally unbelievable, as well as gut-wrenching. In desperation, I quickly called the Los Angeles FBI headquarters to ask for advice. Telling what I knew, which wasn't much, I was immediately transferred to a sexual assault agent who took the information I had, quickly promised to reach out to Cal Poly. To our shock and consternation, the campus police informed the agent that they didn't need any help. All was under control. She was likely a runaway. Happened all the time. We knew that not to be the case. Days later, we were finally told that, in fact, Paul Flores was the last person to ever see Kristin on campus. In fact, he was the last person to ever see her alive. His nickname, we later learned, was Chester the Molester. With every passing day, the dread and feeling of loss became more and more visceral. Would we ever hear her voice, her laugh, feel her hugs? Her hugs were ginormous. See her radiant smile? I tried my best to hold it together for our two younger children, but inside I was panicked and heartsick. My heart knew. My soul would not let me believe. Aching without relief for word of Kristin. How could we possibly live without her in our lives? These thoughts froze and frightened me beyond words. But Paul Flores had no worries. He could have cared less that our family was panicked, frightened, and sick with worry. He had actually stolen another person's life. What did he do? He went to play cool with his friends, shot some hoops, and went to the movies. Oh, and maybe some serious conversations with Daddy. It was challenging away from home, too. When you lose a child, no one really knows what to say. In a way, you were put on a shelf. Attending Lindsay's 8th grade promotion was a bit like being in a glass jar. No one knew what to say. No one wants to relate. After all, their child would never drink at a party, wear shorts. It is an isolation that sears your already broken heart. The media victim shaming was relentless, and even more painful knowing that our children were being exposed to these sensationalized articles. A full month after losing Kristin, a meeting took place to remove jurisdiction from Cal Poly Police to help organize an official search with the help of the Poly Class Foundation and the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department. During a break, I was taken aside and advised by one of the attendees. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "Do not let this evil perpetrator take another victim from you. Do not let him break your family. Continue to be present for your family. Don't let him take another member of your family." His words may have been well-intentioned, but my body's response was one of anger and resentment. How could this man know something we didn't? He was telling me something my mind was not ready to accept. But Paul Flores, well, he already knew what we did not. His only worry was keeping his cool and getting help from home. I kept a little space in my mind to hold on to any fleeting hope I could grab. Perhaps Kristin had been abducted and was still alive somewhere. Always a believer, she was my never-give-up girl. I prayed we would wake up, the nightmare would end, she would be found, the perpetrator held accountable, and I would once again have the chance to ask her to turn down Sheryl Crow on the radio. Oh, how these precious moments fill your head. Her dreams, aspirations, and energy were endless. Every fiber of my being knew Kristin deserved to be here. She deserved to be alive. But again, our hopes soon crashed when the next life-changing call came. Paul's attorney was offering a location of Kristin's body for a misdemeanor sentence, something like, jaywalking. This finality was blistering and heart-wrenching. I gasped trying to understand what that meant. Does that mean a body? He knows where her body is? I collapsed in my bed. I shook, I sobbed, I cried futile tears as my last fading hope was now being extinguished. My precious Kristin's life was over, unceremoniously ended. Hopes, dreams, crash landing before they had a chance to soar. Our family of 5 would never again know completeness. The last moments of Kristin's life were spent alone and scared, away from the love and embrace of her family. We can only pray that she was unconscious and did not see Paul Flores' callous, soulless, evil face. Paul Flores is tragically the only one who knows the answer to that question. This reality suffocated me, as it often continues to. Life can give you no greater pain than the death of your child. And I'm tormented by the thought of how she lost her life. Did she realize she was in mortal danger? Did a sexual deviant think his needs were greater than the value of her life? Did she cry for help that never came? How could anyone have so little regard for the preciousness of a human life? Something I will never fathom. If Kristin had died from an accident or an illness, others would have been there to help and care for her through kindness and compassion. Yet our beautiful and cherished daughter struggled alone in the presence of one of humanity's worst offerings. This heartless and depraved person not only took her life, but instead of calling for help, he unceremoniously disposed of her and went about his day. Yes, Paul Flores, after taking the life of another human being, he spent the weekend hanging with his friends and family, going to the movies, playing pool, not a thread of regret, care, remorse, or humanity in his soul. His depravity continues to this day. How could anyone not call for help? I originally felt that there must have been a tragic accident, something that neither one had planned for, and that certainly there was an answer. That certainly wasn't true. Why is there no punishment for kidnapping or hiding the body of another human being? There is no greater cruelty or pain than not knowing where your child is. And even worse is knowing that the perpetrator and his callous family have the answer you so desperately want. I promise you I will work for the rest of my life to ensure that there will be retroactive enhancements to all sentences for murder when the perpetrator also hides the body. How would Paul Flores feel if this were his sister, his cousin, or his nephew? Do their lives have value? What about his mother or his father? Would he care for them? Would he throw them in a ditch? Where is the humanity in this human being? How to articulately and properly encapsulate 27 years of grief, frustration, loneliness, anger, and dashed hopes? We thought we constantly had to prove that Kristin had value, that her existence was worthy of the efforts from law enforcement. Cal Poly and early law enforcement basically gave Paul a free pass. Well, we all know what Paul Flores did with that free pass that Cal Poly and early law enforcement gave him. We've seen the proof that so many more victims were victimized because of these failed efforts. Early investigators and media worked diligently to find and fabricate personal details of Kristin's life to validate their own theories. She wore a short top, she wore shorts, she had red tennis shoes. Clearly this made her unworthy of the trust and empathy needed to value her life and to look for her. Meanwhile, Paul Flores, free to go about his daily business, blissfully unaffected or concerned that someone he had promised to walk back to her dorm simply vanished from the face of the earth. While others on campus, including some of his friends, searched for her, Paul Flores did not. Instead, he collected articles, newspaper articles about her disappearance and hid them under his bed. The hypocrisy was staggering. Early law enforcement was quick to give up. Sheriff Ed Williams spoke to the media and stated, well, short of Paul Flores telling us what happened to Kristin Smart, this case will not be solved. That was clear, that was the end. The never-ending challenge was convincing law enforcement to value her life. We cajoled, pushed, we called, we begged, we never gave up. Stan and I have been married for 50 years, and half of our life has been spent on a roller coaster in the search for Kristin. Unfortunately, more often than not, the fight for justice was overwhelming. It affected our children every day, and they continue to be affected by this to this day. In January 2011, a new sheriff promised to value our daughter's life, promised to turn over every stone, and assigned new detectives to start anew from the beginning. These efforts gave us hope, but the road was still tortuous. Knowing that we were not alone on our quest for justice, though, was a partial elixir to our grief. Chris Lambert's podcast introduced Kristin to the world, solicited others for answers. There is strength in numbers, and the outreach and support of the incredible SLO community and worldwide supporters that he garnered renewed our hopes, re-energized our souls. Kristin's had value. Her voice was being heard. A quarter century too late, but finally a trial court date. Thankful as we were, there was no way to prepare for the glacial process of a murder trial. We were totally unprepared for the courtroom antics, deceptions, and delays. Defense attorneys eagerly and excitedly searched for details of Kristin's private life, hoping to discredit her very existence. As witnesses, we swore to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But we quickly learned the defense was not bound by the same rules. Watching Paul Flores sit stone-faced and remorseless behind his mask was emblematic of the hiding he has done for the last 26 plus years. He cared only about himself, and he was only eager to get back to LA to resume that wonderful life he had in his new refurbished house. Sitting in close proximity and watching Paul and his father banter like a day in the park while pointing to this or that, each totally ignoring that the family behind them does not want to be in the courtroom either. We only wanted our daughter back. Killing another human being is an evil sin that has no equal. But torturing a family by continuing to withhold the location of their sister and daughter is a cruel and visceral pain that no one should ever have to bear. Paul Flores stole Kristin's life and her future without the slightest ounce of remorse. Beyond that, he also managed to steal from our family the joy of meeting and loving her future husband, grandchildren. His actions stole a whole generation from our family, as well as events, ski trips, family holidays, family meals full of laughter and inside jokes, Kristin's famous Sunday morning omelets, and likely the latest travel suggestion from her. She always had one. Paul stole Kristin's every tomorrow the night he took her life. And the next decisions he made also stole his own future as well as that of his family. He has stolen from our family a love that can never be replaced, a wholeness to our family that can never be replaced, our sense of peace and trust, and the sound of Kristin's laughter, her bear hugs, her brother and sister's childhood innocence, along with almost 27 years of my life, none of which can ever be replaced. We are asking for 25 years to life for him. He has already stolen 27 years of our lives, not to mention Kristin's entire life. I'll add in here that video that we shared encapsulated only 18 years. There should be another 27-year version. It is clearly too late for us, but Paul, it is not too late for you to tell the truth, to free your soul and your heart from the weight it must be carrying. You are, after all, a human being. Please look within your heart and consider helping our family through this tragedy. While Kristin's death brought our family decades of trauma, grief, anger, resentment, confusion, helplessness, and fear, we've been extraordinarily blessed with the support of so many, all who have lived by Kristin's mantra to never give up. Our gratitude to all who have stood beside us is immense and unwavering. The professionalism and commitment of our team to this case has been beyond reproach. The San Luis Obispo DA prosecution team, led by Chris Prevail, not only provided the jury with the evidence needed to convict Paul, but restored our faith in humanity and the human spirit. Also like to recognize the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department under the leadership of Ian Parkinson and the San Luis Obispo DA staff under District Attorney Dan Dow, along with the witnesses who came not once, but twice, each enduring hours of questioning an incredible jury whose patience was unequaled, while enduring endless delays and long days. Our gratitude to all is immense. Their tenacious and unwavering commitment reminds us to believe in our goals and to never give up. To Kristin, your voice has at last been heard. Know that you are forever in our hearts and will forever be our free-spirited family cheerleader and Sunday morning omelet chef. Shiny and sparkly and splendidly bright. Here one day, gone one night, Kristin. We will miss you forever, love you forever. We honor you by choosing every day to never give up. May God forever hold you in the palm of his hand.
Thank you for your statement.